The research station Kepler 442b hummed with nervous energy as the alien crew prepared for what their scientists called the impossible mission. Commander Zephyr, a tall, crystalline being from the Arcturus system, stood before the main viewing port watching the frozen planet below. Her translucent blue skin shimmered with anxiety patterns that her crew had learned to recognize over the past 3 cycles. "Commander," called out Dr. Nexus, the chief xenobiologist whose tentacled form writhed with excitement. "The thermal readings are confirming our worst fears. The planetary temperature has dropped to minus 47 degrees Celsius. No known intelligent life can survive in such conditions." The bridge fell silent except for the soft humming of life support systems working overtime to maintain their ship's comfortable 28-degree environment. Every alien aboard understood what this meant. The human colony of New Anchorage, established only 2 years ago on this frontier world, was facing certain extinction. "How long do they have?" Zephyr asked, her voice creating harmonic frequencies that her universal translator converted to standard galactic. "Our models suggest complete colony collapse within 72 hours, replied Engineer Korax, his 4 arms dancing across multiple control panels. "The atmosphere processors will fail first, then their heating systems. After that," he left the sentence hanging, but everyone understood. The colony had been humanity's first successful settlement beyond their solar system's habitable zone. These remarkable beings, who called themselves humans, had impressed the Galactic Council with their determination to expand into hostile environments. But this sudden climate shift, caused by massive volcanic eruptions on the planet's primary continent, had caught everyone off guard. "What about evacuation?" asked Dr. Nexus, his tentacles curling with worry. "Impossible," Korax replied grimly. "The nearest evacuation ships are 18 days away. The atmospheric interference from the volcanic ash is preventing any shuttle landings. We cannot even establish communication with the colony." Zephyr's crystalline form darkened with frustration. As the Council's representative in this sector, she felt responsible for the 3,000 human lives below. These creatures had already proven themselves remarkable in so many ways. Their ability to adapt, their stubborn refusal to give up, their bizarre habit of forming emotional bonds with other species. It had all fascinated the galactic community. "Commander," called out Navigation Officer Plasma, whose gaseous form swirled with urgent colors. "We're receiving a priority transmission from the Council. They want our final assessment of the colony's survival chances." Zephyr knew what this meant. The Council needed to determine whether to launch an expensive rescue operation or simply write off New Anchorage as another failed colonization attempt. The mathematics were simple and brutal. If the humans couldn't survive the next few days, there was no point in risking more lives and resources. "Tell them we need more time to assess," she ordered. "Begin full atmospheric and thermal scans of the colony site." As her crew worked frantically to gather data, Zephyr found herself thinking about her previous interactions with humans. She had been part of the first contact team that met with their ambassadors 5 years ago. The humans had been unlike anything in their databases. Bipedal carbon-based life forms from a world they called Earth, with an internal temperature regulation system that seemed primitive compared to galactic standards. But what had struck her most was their eyes. Every other species in the galaxy had eyes adapted for specific light frequencies or environmental conditions. Human eyes seemed ordinary, but behind them was something extraordinary, a spark of determination that defied all logic. "Commander," Dr. Nexus's excited voice broke her from her memories. "You need to see this. Our deep-range scanners are picking up movement near the colony's outer perimeter." The main screen flickered to life, showing a thermal image of the planet's surface. Through the swirling ash and snow, they could make out the geometric patterns of the human settlement. Most of it was dark and cold, just as their models predicted. But near what appeared to be a large frozen body of water, there were heat signatures moving about. Are those humans outside their shelters?" Zephyr asked in disbelief. "Confirmed," replied Korax, his 4 arms working to refine the image. At least 6 heat signatures, moving in coordinated patterns across the ice. This made no sense. According to their xenobiology databases, humans required constant environmental protection at temperatures below 0 degrees Celsius. Their skin was thin and unprotected, their internal heating system was inefficient, and they had no natural insulation against extreme cold. They must be in environmental suits, Dr. Nexus reasoned. Though our readings suggest the suits would only provide protection for short periods in these conditions. How short? Zephyr demanded. Perhaps 30 minutes before hypothermic failure sets in. The bridge crew watched in fascination as the heat signatures continued their mysterious activity around the frozen water. They seemed to be creating holes in the ice, and then waiting. What could they possibly be doing? Commander, Plasma announced, his gaseous form brightening with excitement. I'm detecting energy emanations from the colony's main power core. It appears to be functioning at 93% efficiency. That's impossible, Korax protested. Our models clearly showed that human technology cannot maintain power generation in these temperatures. But the readings were undeniable. Not only was the colony still functioning, but it seemed to be operating nearly at full capacity. The humans had somehow adapted their systems to work in conditions that should have killed them all by now. We need to get closer, Zephyr decided. Take us in a low orbit and begin detailed surface scans. I want to know exactly how these humans are surviving. As the ship moved into position, the crew found themselves witnessing something that would challenge everything they thought they knew about human limitations. The thermal signatures on the ice were not just moving randomly. They were engaged in what appeared to be an organized operation. Commander, Dr. Nexus said, his tentacles practically vibrating with amazement. I'm reading detailed biometric data from the surface humans. Their core body temperature is maintaining at 37 degrees Celsius despite external temperatures of minus 47 degrees. How are they generating that much internal heat? Unknown. But that's not the most remarkable part. Watch this. The screen zoomed in on one of the heat signatures. Through the enhanced imaging, they could see a figure kneeling beside one of the holes in the ice. The figure appeared to be reaching into the water. Are they collecting samples? Korax wondered aloud. Negative, Dr. Nexus replied, his excitement growing. Spectral analysis suggests they are extracting organic matter. Large organic matter. Zephyr felt her crystalline structure tremble with disbelief. Are you telling me that these humans are fishing in minus 47-degree weather with their bare appendages? The answer came as they watched one of the figures pull something large and silvery from the hole in the ice. Even through the thermal imaging, they could see it was some kind of aquatic life form, struggling against the human's grip. Confirmed, Dr. Nexus whispered. They're harvesting local aquatic protein sources, without environmental protection, in conditions that should kill them within minutes. The bridge fell silent as the implications hit them. These humans weren't just surviving the catastrophic climate shift, they were thriving. While the alien crew huddled in their carefully controlled environment, the humans below were calmly going about their daily routines, as if minus 47 degrees was merely an inconvenience. Commander, Plasma said quietly, what do we tell the council? Zephyr watched as more humans emerged from their shelters and joined the fishing operation. Some were carrying primitive tools. Others seemed to be working with nothing but their natural appendages. All of them were moving with purpose and efficiency that spoke of extensive experience with such conditions. We tell them, she said slowly, that we need to revise our entire database on human environmental tolerances. And we tell them that new anchorage is in no danger of collapse. But, Commander, Korax protested, the climate models clearly indicate the climate models, Zephyr interrupted, were based on the assumption that humans are typical carbon-based life forms. Clearly, that assumption was incorrect. As if to emphasize her point, the thermal imaging showed one of the humans removing what appeared to be outer garments, working in even lighter clothing as they hauled more fish from the icy water. The figure's body heat remained constant, and Their movements showed no signs of the sluggishness that extreme cold should have induced. Begin a comprehensive study of everything we thought we knew about human physiology, Zephyr ordered, and prepare a report for the Council. I have a feeling we're going to need to completely rewrite the xenobiology textbooks. Dr. Nexus's tentacles curled with anticipation. Commander, if humans can survive and work efficiently in these conditions, what does that say about their homeworld? It was a question that would haunt Zephyr for cycles to come. If this was how humans behaved when faced with what other species considered unsurvivable conditions, what kind of death world had produced them? And, perhaps more importantly, what other capabilities were they hiding from the galactic community? On the planet below, the humans continued their fishing operation, completely unaware that their simple act of survival was about to revolutionize galactic understanding of what life could endure. They pulled fish after fish from the icy water, their hands working efficiently despite the killing cold, their voices carrying across the frozen landscape with what sounded suspiciously like laughter. The aliens aboard the research station could only watch in amazement as these impossible creatures went about their daily business in conditions that would have ended any other known civilization. It was becoming clear that the galaxy had seriously underestimated humanity's potential. And this was only the beginning of their education about what humans called normal weather back home on Earth. 3 days had passed since the Kepler 442b research team first witnessed the impossible sight of humans fishing in deadly cold conditions. Commander Zephyr had spent those days in constant communication with various galactic authorities, each conversation more bewildering than the last. Commander, Dr. Nexus announced, his tentacles practically glowing with excitement. We've just received authorization for direct contact with the human colony. The Council wants first-hand reports of their survival methods. Zephyr nodded, though her crystalline form flickered with uncertainty. The standard first contact protocols seemed inadequate when dealing with beings who apparently laughed in the face of environmental conditions that would kill most galactic species within minutes. Prepare the shuttle, she ordered. We'll take a small team down to observe their operations directly. Engineer Corax's forearms paused mid-gesture. Commander, with respect, our environmental suits can only maintain safe conditions for 6 hours in those temperatures. If something goes wrong, then we'll be in the same situation as beings who consider this normal outdoor weather, Zephyr replied dryly. Begin pre-landing preparations. The shuttle bay buzzed with activity as the crew prepared for what felt more like an expedition to study mythical creatures than a standard diplomatic mission. Dr. Nexus loaded his portable analysis equipment, designed to study the humans' impossible biology in real time. Corax triple-checked the environmental systems, knowing that any failure would mean certain death for the alien crew. As they descended through the ash-filled atmosphere, the shuttle's sensors provided increasingly detailed images of new anchorage. What they saw defied every model in their databases. The human settlement wasn't just surviving the climate catastrophe, it was expanding. Look at this, Dr. Nexus called out, manipulating the display with his tentacles. They've constructed additional structures since the temperature drop. These appear to be storage facilities? Indeed, the humans had built several new buildings using local materials. But, most remarkably, they seem to be working on these construction projects outdoors, in the deadly cold, as if building in sub-zero temperatures was perfectly normal. Commander, the shuttle pilot announced, the humans are directing us to a landing pad they've cleared. It appears they were expecting us. Of course they were, Zephyr thought. These impossible beings probably considered entertaining frozen alien visitors just another part of their daily routine. The shuttle touched down on a perfectly cleared ice platform. Through the viewports, they could see several humans approaching, none wearing what looked like adequate environmental protection. Their clothing appeared to be simple fabric coverings, with only their extremities covered by what the galactic database identified as mittens and boots. Biometric readings, Dr. Zephyr requested. Astounding, Dr. Nexus replied, his voice filled with scientific wonder. Core body temperature holding steady at 37 degrees Celsius. heart rate slightly elevated, but within normal ranges for physical exertion. No signs of hypothermic stress whatsoever. The shuttle door opened with a hiss of carefully controlled atmosphere, meeting the brutal planetary air. Zephyr felt her environmental suit's heating system immediately kick into overdrive as she stepped onto the ice. Behind her, Corax's suit began beeping warning signals about external temperature extremes. "Welcome to New Anchorage," called out a human female, her breath visible in the frigid air, but her voice cheerful and warm. "I am Saracen, Colony Administrator. We're honored to have galactic representatives visit our little slice of winter paradise." Winter paradise. Zephyr's translation systems struggled with the concept. How could any being refer to conditions that could kill most known life forms as paradise? "Administrator Chun," Zephyr replied through her suit's communication system, "we are here to assess your colony's survival capabilities and offer assistance if needed." The human's face, somehow completely exposed to the deadly cold, broke into what their database identified as a smile. "Assistance? That's very kind, but we're doing just fine. Actually, this cold snap has been pretty great for us. Much better fishing, and the food preservation is working perfectly." Dr. Nexus's tentacles were practically dancing with excitement as he took readings. "Administrator, if I may ask, how are you maintaining core body temperature in these conditions?" Sarah looked confused for a moment. "Oh, you mean staying warm? This isn't really that cold. Back on Earth, I'm from Minnesota. We had days colder than this every winter. This is maybe a light sweater kind of day." Light sweater day. Zephyr processed this information and felt her worldview shifting again. If this was considered mild weather for humans, what exactly was their homeworld like? "Would you like to see our operations?" Sarah asked. "We've got a great ice fishing setup going, and the food processing facility is working better than ever." As they walked across the frozen ground, Zephyr noticed that the humans moved with complete confidence on the ice that threatened to send the alien visitors slipping with every step. Their environmental suits were bulky and awkward, designed for space operations rather than surface exploration, while the humans seemed to glide across the terrain effortlessly. "There's Jake." Sarah pointed to a figure kneeling beside one of the holes in the ice. "He's our best fisher. Has hands like magic when it comes to pulling in the big ones." They approached the human called Jake, who was indeed reaching into the icy water with what appeared to be completely unprotected hands. As they watched, he pulled out a fish nearly a meter long, grinning as the creature struggled in his grip. "Nice one," Sarah called out. "That'll feed a family for a week." Jake looked up at the approaching group and waved with his free hand, the same hand that had just been submerged in water that should have caused instant frostbite. "Hey there. Welcome to the neighborhood. Hope you brought warm clothes. It's a bit nippy today." Dr. Nexus immediately began scanning Jake's exposed hands. "Remarkable," he whispered to Zephyr. "No tissue damage. Blood flow appears normal. Temperature differential between his hands, and the water is maintaining perfectly stable." "Ow!" Zephyr asked Jake directly. "How are you able to withstand direct contact with freezing water?" Jake looked puzzled by the question. "You mean ice fishing? My dad taught me when I was about 8 years old. You just got to know how to feel for the fish. Gloves get in the way. Can't feel what's happening down there." 8 years old. These humans were training their juveniles to survive in conditions that would kill adult members of most galactic species. "Jake," Sarah said, "why don't you show our visitors the processing facility? I think they'd be interested in how we're handling the food storage." They followed Jake to a large building that appeared to be operating without any visible heating system. Inside, dozens of humans were working to clean, prepare, and store the fish they'd caught. The building was clearly below freezing. Their breath was visible and ice crystals formed on the walls, but everyone moved with practiced efficiency. "See, the cold is actually perfect for this," Jake explained, apparently oblivious to the fact that his alien visitors were shivering despite their advanced environmental suits. "Natural refrigeration. We can store food for months without any power consumption." Corax's forearms were trembling inside his suit. How long can you work in these conditions? He asked. Oh, as long as needed, replied a human who introduced herself as Maria. Yesterday, we worked about 14 hours straight processing the catch from the big fishing day. Broke our personal record. 14 hours. In conditions that would kill most galactic species in 30 minutes. Don't you require heated shelters? Dr. Nexus asked, his scientific mind reeling. Well, sure. Our living quarters are heated, Maria replied. We keep them at about 20 degrees Celsius. Nice and cozy. But for work like this, the cold actually helps. Keeps you alert and energized. Zephyr felt her understanding of biology crumbling. These humans considered 20 degrees to be comfortably warm, while her species required 28 degrees minimum for survival. They worked efficiently in temperatures that would send her into emergency shutdown. Would you like to try ice fishing? Sarah asked the group. We've got extra equipment. The suggestion sent alarm signals through all 3 visitors' environmental suits. Dr. Nexus's tentacles curled protectively around himself. That is very generous, but our biology would not permit such exposure. No problem, Jake said cheerfully. Different species, different comfort zones. Though if you want to understand how we do it, you really need to feel the water. He demonstrated, plunging his arm up to the elbow into the fishing hole. See, the trick is reading the current. Fish move differently when it's this cold. They're slower but more predictable. As they watched, Jake's technique became apparent. He wasn't just randomly grabbing at fish. He was reading the water through touch, feeling for movement and vibration that his eyes couldn't detect. When he struck, it was with precision and confidence that spoke of years of practice. Incredible, Dr. Nexus muttered, recording everything. He's using thermal and pressure sensitivity in his extremities as a hunting tool. This suggests evolutionary adaptation to extreme environments. Evolution? Sarah laughed. Nah, this is just good old-fashioned practice. Everyone where I grew up could do this by their teens. It's just winter survival skills. Winter survival skills. Standard abilities that human children learned as a matter of course. As the day progressed, the alien visitors witnessed more and more examples of casual human impossibility. They watched colonists repair outdoor equipment with bare hands. They saw children playing games in the snow, laughing and shouting with joy. They observed humans eating meals outside, sitting on blocks of ice as if they were comfortable chairs. Commander, Dr. Nexus said privately through their suit communications, I need to report something disturbing. Based on my observations today, I believe we may have fundamentally misunderstood human environmental tolerances. Explain, Zephyr requested. If these conditions represent normal seasonal variation for their species, then their homeworld must experience regular temperature ranges that span from what we consider lethal cold to what might be lethal heat. Their physiology isn't adapting to extreme conditions. These aren't extreme conditions for them. The implications were staggering. It meant that humans could potentially operate on worlds that other galactic species couldn't even visit with environmental protection. It meant their expansion capabilities were far beyond what anyone had calculated. There's more, Dr. Nexus continued. I've been analyzing their construction techniques, their food preservation methods, their social behaviors in these conditions. They're not just surviving, they're optimizing. They're using the environmental conditions to improve their efficiency. As if to prove his point, they watched a group of humans use the frozen ground as a natural foundation for a new storage building, constructing in hours what would have taken most species days in climate-controlled conditions. Administrator Chun, Zephyr said finally, we came here to offer assistance with survival. Instead, we find ourselves learning about capabilities we didn't know existed. What would you say is the most challenging aspect of your current situation? Sarah thought for a moment. Honestly, the biggest challenge is probably boredom. This weather is going to last for months, and there's only so much ice fishing you can do. We're thinking of starting a hockey league to keep everyone entertained. A hockey league, in conditions that would kill most galactic species. As they prepared to return to their shuttle, Jake approached with a large fish. Here, take this back with you. Fresh caught. Perfect eating. Just throw it on a fire for a few minutes. Dr. Nexus accepted the gift with trembling tentacles. This is very generous. How should we preserve it during transport? Jake looked confused. Preserve it? It's 47 below. Just leave it outside your ship. It'll keep for weeks. Of course. To humans, their ship's exterior was a perfectly adequate freezer. As the shuttle lifted off, carrying 3 very thoughtful alien scientists back to their research station, the humans of New Anchorage returned to their daily routines. They had no idea that their casual demonstration of winter survival skills was about to revolutionize galactic understanding of environmental adaptation. On the ground below, Sarachin looked up at the departing shuttle and shook her head with amusement. Nice folks, she said to Jake, but they seemed a bit sensitive to the cold. 2 weeks after the first contact mission to New Anchorage, the Galactic Council chambers buzzed with unprecedented activity. Representatives from 17 different species had gathered for an emergency session, all wanting to understand the disturbing reports coming from the human colony study. Commander Zephyr stood before the assembled delegates, her crystalline form reflecting the chamber's multi-spectrum lighting as she prepared to deliver findings that would reshape galactic civilization's understanding of environmental limits. Honored delegates, she began, her harmonic voice translated into dozens of languages simultaneously. What we discovered on the human colony of New Anchorage challenges our fundamental assumptions about life, survival, and planetary habitability. The massive chamber fell silent. In the front row, Ambassador Quillax of the Thermal Regulation Council leaned forward, her heat-sensitive organs glowing with anticipation. Behind her, the delegation from the ice void hegemony, themselves adapted to cold conditions, waited with particular interest. Our initial assessment was that the human colony faced extinction due to planetary temperature drops to minus 47 degrees Celsius, Zephyr continued. We prepared evacuation protocols and composed memorial documents for 3,000 humans. We were wrong on every count. She activated the chamber's central display, showing thermal imagery from New Anchorage. The gathered aliens watched in stunned silence as humans moved freely across frozen landscapes, working without environmental protection in conditions that would kill most represented species within minutes. Not only did the humans survive these conditions, Zephyr explained, they thrived. Colony productivity increased by 37% during the cold period. Food security improved dramatically. Construction projects accelerated. By every measurable standard, the environmental catastrophe made them more efficient. Excited chittering erupted from the insectoid delegation, while several gaseous representatives began swirling with agitated colors. Ambassador Quillax's heating organs pulsed with disbelief. Commander, called out High Counselor Vex, his mechanical voice cutting through the noise, are you claiming these humans have advanced environmental control technology we haven't detected? Negative, Zephyr replied firmly. They were using their natural biological capabilities. No environmental suits, no artificial heating beyond basic shelter warming, no technological augmentation of any kind. The chamber erupted. Species that had spent millennia developing complex environmental control systems couldn't comprehend beings who simply ignored lethal temperatures through biological adaptation alone. Impossible, declared Ambassador Quillax. No carbon-based life form can maintain core temperature stability in such conditions without massive energy expenditure. Were there heating units? Dr. Nexus, who had accompanied Zephyr to present the scientific findings, activated his portion of the display. Detailed biometric readings filled the air above the delegates. Respected colleagues, he began, his tentacles weaving complex patterns that his translator rendered as scientific terminology. Human thermoregulation operates on principles we previously thought impossible. Their baseline metabolic rate allows for stable temperature maintenance across environmental ranges from minus 40 degrees to plus 40 degrees Celsius. The numbers themselves were shocking, but the implications were staggering. Most galactic species operated within 5-degree temperature ranges. Humans apparently treated an 80-degree span as normal seasonal variation. Furthermore, Dr. Nexus continued, their extremities, hands, and feet demonstrate remarkable adaptation to temperature differential. We observed humans maintaining manual dexterity in conditions that would cause instantaneous tissue death in other species. Ambassador Thermal Song of the Heat Death Prevention Alliance spoke up, her voice a melodic series of tones. Doctor, what you describe suggests these humans evolved in environmental conditions that regularly fluctuated between lethal extremes. What kind of death world produced such adaptations? According to our cultural exchange data, Dr. Nexus replied, consulting his notes, humans refer to their home world as having 4 seasons and consider this normal. They describe conditions ranging from what they call summer heat to winter cold as pleasant recreational weather. The chamber fell silent as delegates processed this information. Recreational weather that spanned lethal temperature ranges. There's more, Zephyr announced, knowing she was about to shatter another fundamental assumption. Our analysis of human settlement patterns on their home world reveals they have successfully established permanent populations in every conceivable climate zone. Desert regions where surface temperatures exceed 50 degrees Celsius. Polar regions where temperatures remain below -30 degrees year-round. Mountain regions where oxygen levels would kill most of us. Coastal regions where atmospheric pressure varies dramatically with weather systems. High Counselor Vex mechanical form word with processing activity. Commander, you're describing a species that has no environmental limitations. This is biologically impossible. That's what we thought, Zephyr replied. Until we observed them fishing through ice with their bare hands while maintaining casual conversation about it being a bit chilly today. She activated another section of the display, showing recordings from a colony. The assembled delegates watched humans work outdoors in deadly cold. Children play games in the snow, and adults sit comfortably on blocks of ice while eating meals. Note their behavior patterns, Dr. Nexus added. They're not struggling against their environment. They're enjoying it. Our linguistic analysis reveals they have dozens of words for different types of frozen precipitation, and consider many of these beautiful or fun. Ambassador Quillax's heating organs were now cycling through rapid temperature fluctuations, a sign of severe cognitive distress in her species. This changes everything. If humans can operate efficiently across such temperature ranges, they could settle worlds we can't even survey. The realization hit the chamber like a shockwave. The galaxy was divided into environmental zones based on species compatibility. Thermal worlds for heat-adapted beings, cryo worlds for cold-adapted species, temperate worlds for the narrow-range majority. Humans apparently could live anywhere. Honored delegates, Zephyr continued. We need to discuss the implications for galactic expansion protocols. Current settlement rights are allocated based on environmental compatibility. If humans can thrive in conditions that other species consider uninhabitable, she didn't need to finish. Everyone understood. Humans could claim territories that had been written off as worthless. They could establish colonies on worlds that serve as natural barriers between species territories. They could survive on planets that others could only visit with extensive technological support. There's another matter, Dr. Nexus added quietly. We need to discuss their food procurement methods. A new image filled the display. Jake pulling a large fish from the ice hole, his unprotected hands gripping the struggling creature with casual confidence. This human is harvesting aquatic protein sources through direct physical contact with water at 0 degrees Celsius, Dr. Nexus explained. He maintained this activity for 4 hours continuously. His explanation was that it was good fishing weather. The delegates stared in fascination at the impossible sight. Most species in the chamber would have died from brief contact with ice-cold water. This human was using it as a hunting medium. But how? Asked Ambassador Cloudwalker of the Atmospheric Collective. What evolutionary pressures could have produced such adaptations? According to human historical records, Zephyr replied, their species regularly faced what they call ice ages, planetary-scale climate cooling events that lasted for millennia. They didn't go extinct during these periods. They adapted and continue to spread across their homeworld. Ice ages, planetary cooling events that most species would consider extinction-level catastrophes. Humans had survived multiple such events and emerged stronger. High Counselor Vex spoke slowly, his mechanical voice carrying undertones of awe. We need to completely revise our assessment of human expansion potential. If their environmental tolerance is this broad, they could theoretically establish settlements on 63% of surveyed worlds. 63%. Currently, most species could only survive on less than 5% of known worlds. What are you recommending? Asked Ambassador Quillax. Zephyr had been dreading this question, but the answer was obvious. We recommend immediate revision of territorial allocation protocols. We recommend establishment of new environmental assessment categories that account for extreme-range species capabilities. And we recommend— She paused, knowing this would be controversial. We recommend offering humans partnership in surveying and settling previously classified uninhabitable worlds. The chamber erupted again. Species that had spent generations developing expensive environmental control technology to visit hostile worlds were being told that humans could just walk outside and start fishing. Commander, called out a delegate from the back. What about their social adaptations? How do they maintain civilization in such harsh conditions? DR. Nexus activated another recording, this one showing the new Anchorage community gathering for what appeared to be a celebration in the frozen outdoor area. Humans of all ages were participating in organized activities, laughing and socializing despite the lethal cold. They appear to find harsh environmental conditions socially bonding, he explained. Our analysis suggests that challenging weather actually strengthens their community cooperation. They have recreational activities specifically designed around environmental extremes, such as, prompted the delegate, ice fishing competitions, snow sculpture creation, something called winter sports that involve deliberate high-speed movement across frozen surfaces, and organized games that require teams to move objects across ice while wearing metal blades on their feet. The description of ice hockey left several delegates speechless. These humans had weaponized winter conditions for entertainment. In conclusion, Zephyr said, bringing the session back to order, we are not dealing with a species that merely tolerates extreme environments. We are dealing with a species that actively enjoys them, uses them to improve efficiency, and has built recreational culture around conditions that would kill the rest of us. High Counselor Vex's mechanical form clicked, and word as he processed the implications. Motion to establish the Human Environmental Compatibility Research Project. We need comprehensive analysis of their homeworld conditions and full assessment of their settlement capabilities. Seconded, called out multiple voices. Motion to invite human representatives to join the Hostile Environment Survey Committee, added Ambassador Cloudwalker. If they can fish through ice with their bare hands, they might have insights into worlds we've never been able to properly explore. As the session continued with formal motions and committee assignments, Zephyr found herself thinking about the humans of New Anchorage, probably sitting around holes in the ice at this very moment, pulling fish from freezing water while discussing what they considered normal weather. The galaxy was about to discover that normal, for humans, was far beyond what anyone else considered possible. 3 days later, when the formal invitation for environmental partnership was transmitted to Earth, the human response was immediate and enthusiastic. They were excited to help explore new worlds and couldn't wait to see what the galaxy considered uninhabitable. After all, they said, it couldn't be worse than winter in Minnesota. The galactic community was still trying to process what that meant when the first human survey teams arrived, equipped with nothing more than what they called camping gear and an inexplicable eagerness to experience new types of weather. The age of human expansion had officially begun, and it was going to redefine what civilized beings considered possible.